If you've ever played Sekiro or any other FromSoft game, you'll quickly realize how essential attacking is in these, or pretty much any game actually. One of the fundamental properties of Soulsborne games, however, is the difficult boss fights, with different games requiring different approaches, dodging, shooting, or parrying. But something that these games all have in common is that you attack to deplete the enemy's health bar, and when it reaches 0, you win. Sekiro is slightly different. Because enemies have a posture bar, it gives the player an alternative way to defeat the boss. You can almost treat this as the boss's secondary health bar, only you're trying to fill it, not deplete it. Take this fight with Źinsuke for example. You are actually encouraged to only parry, and I, like most people, defeated Źinsuke on my first playthrough without landing a single attack. There are also many glitches you can perform in Sekiro that will just allow you to skip most of the boss fights without attacking or parrying even once, or even confronting the boss. So I wanted to see, is it possible to do this to every boss in the game? Is it possible to beat Sekiro without attacking? Here are the rules for this challenge. I cannot swing my sword, even if the enemy blocks or parries my attacks. I can block and parry to defend myself and to fill the enemy's posture bar. I cannot use offensive prosthetic tools that damage the enemy. Defensive prosthetic tools like the umbrella are allowed. Death blows are allowed. Death blows are essential to progress the game and aren't really a form of attacking anyway. It's just a way to end fights. Stealth death blows are also allowed since they're basically the same thing. Skips and glitches are allowed. I'm going to be doing the Shura ending because if you think I'm fighting this guy without attacking, then you are insane. To start off the challenge, I did what anyone who's playing Sekiro for the 20th time would do. I beelined straight to the first mandatory boss fight of the game, the Chained Ogre, who you don't even actually have to fight. You can skip the ogre by performing a jump off of the wall on the side and grabbing onto this ledge. Now I want to make one thing clear, this is not easy. It took me days to practice this and then actually apply it in game, and since I'm on a controller, it was even harder for me. Here's how the skip works. You need to get into this corner and perform a delayed ledge jump. Once you see the animation for the delayed jump, you need to instantly change your movement input from right to a hard left. This is the part where I would usually mess up because I'm on a controller, and it's just a difficult thing to do anyway since you aren't exactly always ready for the delayed ledge jump to happen. Next was my first death blow of the entire game, which happened on the snake in the tent. After that, I ran to Gyobu and did his very well known skip by jumping onto this tower and performing a delayed jump off of the edge. This next skip was a skip that I'd never done before, and it took me over 3 hours on my first attempt. If you're unfamiliar with the Blazing Bull skip, here's how it works. You can run to the door just before you enter the bull's boss room, where this arch is, and climb the building to its right. The skip used to be performed on the right side of the tree, but has since been patched. You can still do it on the left, but it requires more precise timing on the turn after you jump. After getting to the top of this building, you can run and jump off of the edge at an angle, and use this tree branch to jump and turn to the right so you can land on the tiled wall on the other side. And from here it was pretty simple. Follow the tiled roof until you can jump into the Ashina Castle bridge area. I'd say I was doing pretty well at this point. We were in Ashina Castle without having attacked a single enemy. The next place I was planning to go was Mibu village, and to get there you can take one of two ways. You can either fight the Shichimen warrior or this ninja in a well. I went for the ninja in the well and I had a plan to defeat him. You see, in my current state, I was far too underpowered to be able to deflect his attacks and fill his posture bar. So I ran around a bit and found some heavy coin purses, and once I had enough, I purchased the Iron Fortress from Black Hat Badger near the old grave. This still wouldn't be enough, since I could block attacks, but I couldn't spin the umbrella to parry. To be able to parry with the umbrella, I would need to upgrade to the loaded magnetic umbrella, but to do this, I would need to find and upgrade some other prosthetic tools like the flame vent and the shinobi firecrackers. I farmed some more money and bought the required materials like gunpowder from merchants. and I could now spin the umbrella to deflect attacks. I purchased some Yashiriku's sugars from Black Hat Badger, and I now had everything I needed to defeat the ninja. I jumped in through the top to get the first death blow on him, and after this all I had to do was use a Yashiriku's sugar during his stagger animation, hold my umbrella open and spin to deflect his attacks. Since his attacks are pretty consistent with little to no breaks in between, he filled his own posture bar up pretty quickly, enabling me to get the final death blow on him. I didn't go to Mibu village just yet, since I didn't have enough ash for the corrupted monk fight, so I instead went towards the Senpu temple. So the next enemy I would have to face was the armored knight. The only way you can actually defeat the armored knight is by pushing him off the edge, and because of his armor, you can't damage his health anyway. His posture also never recovers, so you can just parry his attacks until you can get the death blow on him. But you can also entirely skip the fight by making him run off the edge. If you get the knight to break this corner wall piece and stand on this small ledge outside the boss arena, the knight will walk through the fog wall to try to get to you. Eventually, after running into the wall for a bit and incentivizing the knight to attack and chase you, he'll chase you off of the map. You can jump back into the arena and you'll eventually get the rewards for defeating the knight and you can move on. The next boss I went for was Snake Eyes, and I actually used the boss arena itself to defeat her. In Snake Eyes' boss arena, there are pools of poison pretty much everywhere, and if you stand in these for too long, you'll get poisoned and your health will start to tick down. It just so happens that this applies to all enemies in game, like Snake Eyes. After getting the first death blow by sneaking up on her, I lured Snake Eyes to the corner of the arena and stood on this rock. I held my umbrella open to block the gunshots, and this was pretty much the entire strategy. The rate of the fire of the gunshots was slow enough to the point where I could open the umbrella, wait for my posture to go back down, and then reopen it. I did this until her health got to 0, but she wasn't getting into the death blow stance. It didn't take long for me to figure out a pretty funny solution, and now I could move on to the corrupted monk, right after I dealt with the mist noble. After getting the first death blow, I wasn't sure on how to actually defeat her a second time. Her attacks were far too slow to build any posture damage. I went back up to the outside roof from where you come into the building, and for some reason, despite her losing interest in me, she still only had 1 life point left. Usually when a boss loses interest in you, their health points are reset, so I wasn't too sure why this happened, but I got the second death blow and moved on to the corrupted monk. The corrupted monk can actually also be stealth death blowed. If you stick to the side of the arena, making your way to the back of the monk and spam ash, firecrackers or snap seeds, she will take a step back with every stun. With enough stuns and moving her back far enough, you can jump off of this column to gain some vertical height and stealth death blow the monk, defeating her without attacking a single time. With the long-armed centipede giraffe, much like Źhensuke, the game expects you to deflect rather than attack, so this fight was pretty easy. At this point, to continue towards the guardian ape, I had to defeat Genichiro so I could get the gun fort shrine keys. Relying on only deflecting his attacks wasn't enough, since he would randomly stop and look at me, which allowed all of his posture to recover. I thought of using the crimson raven feathers to damage him while evading, but eventually I found out that I don't have access to fulminated mercury at the point of the game I was at. I started thinking about what distinguishes an attack from other defensive maneuvers like blocking and evading. If you don't see where I'm going with this, I jumped him to death. Yeah, the attack that does the tiniest amount of damage to enemies. Whenever you jump off of an enemy, it does the smallest, most inconceivable amount of damage to their health bar. I don't think this counts as an attack, since usually this would be an evasive maneuver, and you would use it to create distance between you and the enemy or to counter a sweep attack. I only had to get his health low enough to a point where his posture bar wouldn't be able to recover. The second phase was essentially the same, and for the lightning attacks in the third phase, I did try to dodge them completely, but if I did catch the lightning in the air, I would turn off the auto-lock feature and throw the lightning behind me, so it would miss ᵃᵐᵃ completely. After about an hour and a half, and my eyes melting out of their sockets, I actually managed to beat ᵃᵐᵃ with only a handful of tries. Now I could access the Guardian Ape. You can also skip the Guardian Ape, but it's slightly more complicated. If you jump through the map on the side of the arena and perform a number of precise movements and jumps, you can actually get the flower from the outside of the boss arena without ever having to fight or even confront the ape. The screen monkeys can also be skipped by performing a glitch. A delayed jump off of this tree onto this ledge allows you to just jump into the area where you would get the mortal blade. I tried this jump for hours, for days, and I just couldn't get it. But it didn't really matter since the monkeys could all be deathblowed anyway. And before I knew it, I was making my way towards Ashina Castle for the final fight. I started to practice the same jump method on Emma, who was a lot more difficult than I had anticipated. Unlike ᵃᵐᵃ, who would just let me jump on him most of the time, Emma has a slash counter attack if you try to jump on her. I only had a couple of moves in which I was actually allowed to jump on her. These were the grab attack. After performing a Mikiri counter, after her combo if I managed to deflect it, and after jumping over her sweep attack. It took me a couple of days, yes, days, but I finally managed to beat her. isshin's first phase was actually very easy. I managed to defeat him on my first try. His moveset is extremely limited, and much like ᵃᵐᵃ, I could jump off of him as much as I wanted and he wouldn't really do anything. His second phase was the problem. Although I had a couple of opportunities where I could jump off of him, there was one attack which was pretty much unavoidable without the umbrella, his ground fire attack. Usually, without the umbrella, I would be able to parry most of the hits and survive the attack maybe once or twice. But the issue with this challenge was that I would be fighting isshin's second phase for anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, meaning that I would be encountering this move a lot. Even if I had max spirit emblems plus the ceremonial tanto, it just wouldn't be enough because I had to find certain opportunities to jump off of isshin, unlike his first phase. So this fight would last for a very long time. I would eventually be left with nothing to defend myself with, but this doesn't mean that the challenge was over, because there was a way in which I could completely skip isshin's second phase altogether. You see, there is a small window in which if you activate the death blow of isshin's first phase, the game will get confused, and the death blow will completely drain the health bar of the second phase instead, leaving you to do a singular attack and activate the second death blow. This glitch is very fittingly called the double death blow glitch. To do this, you need the shinobi combat art Vault Over and any sugar. The jump and the use of a sugar act as a timer, and after these animations are over is when you are in the window to actually get the glitch. Although I had a way to successfully complete the challenge now, this would be no easy feat. Not only would I have to defeat Emma again, but also isshin, and I would more than likely mess up the double death blow glitch, since the timing has to be almost frame perfect. If you are even a millisecond off, you'll either get the normal death blow or you'll just miss the death blow completely. So for the next couple of days, I switched to another game save and practiced the glitch. After about 3 days, I got it for the first time. After analyzing my own footage of the glitch, I found a pretty consistent method on how to perform this glitch. Here's how I do it. I'll show you the exact timing so you can visualize what it should look and feel like. After deflecting or performing a ᵐᵃᵃ counter, you need to wait for around about this much time. After you've jumped off of isshin, spam a sugar in the air until you're back on the ground and in the animation of using the sugar. At this point, you need to wait until Sekiro snaps into the stance of the sugar he's using. For example, using a Yashiriku's sugar, you would wait until he does this snap into the Yashiriku stance when the sword is above his head. This is when you want to press the death blow button, and if you're lucky enough, you'll get this weird animation where Sekiro stabs the air above isshin. If this happens, well done, you've successfully done the glitch. If not, unfortunately you have to die to isshin and repeat. I felt pretty confident, so I went back to my challenge save and tried again, and I came so close to actually finishing the challenge. But I panicked. I panicked so much that I went into autopilot, and instead of jumping off of isshin after getting the glitch, I ended up hitting him. I had to run it back and this time remember that I cannot attack. I came back a couple days later, and after about a week of fighting isshin and Emma for hours on end, I finally got the glitch, and this time I remembered to jump on isshin and managed to kill him and beat the entire game without attacking a single time. So, can you actually beat Sekiro without attacking? Yes. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It enables me to make these crazy challenge videos where I start to question my own sanity. Thanks for watching.